Well, the incredible thing about doing this for over 20 years now and being in this line of work is the experience teaches you so much. Yes, you're going to learn at law school. You can get these nice diplomas like I have behind you. You can go to the JAG school and go through advocacy courses, and that's the bare minimum. But you're going to, all of those nuances that you're going to learn from being in the courtroom and trying cases, they are indispensable. They give me the secret edge, because that one example of the Marine witness who, got chewed out by a panel member for having his jig line, from that time on, I looked at everyone, before my witnesses come to court, I had to make sure they're squared away. I got the NCO to make sure their uniform squared away, they're squared away, and make sure my co-counsel squared away, and we all look good and we're presentable. So, because I don't want that to be a distraction. So that's one small thing. And there's thousands and thousands of little lessons learned like that, whether it's just techniques for how to handle yourself when you have an objection, how to handle a hostile judge, how to handle certain questions. There's all sorts of small techniques you just learned over time. Even for example, a small little thing is the jury or the members can ask questions, right? And so you're allowed to object to the questions, but you never want them to know you're objecting. And so what they'll do is they write their question down on a piece of paper, and then the judge reads it, goes to the bailiff, they'll usually hand it to the gut ref, they can write out the objection, or they can write out, whether it's an objection, whether you object or not. And even when I don't object, I always pause and take a certain amount of time, whether it's objecting or not, and I always write a little something, just so when they're looking at me, they can't distinguish between when I'm objecting to something on paper and when I'm not, because I don't want them to think I'm objecting. I want them to think that anything they ask, I'm good to go with, even though maybe I don't want them to ask it at all. So, little nuances like that, small little things that are going to make a difference in trial, but you have 100 of those or 1,000 of those, they're going to make the difference. It's why if you've been doing whatever it is, sport or your career for a long time, all those lessons learned come into play. It's like, I love racing and Formula One. I'm a huge Fernando Alonso fan. He's 42 years old, but racing longer than anyone else on the grid. He drives an Aston Martin, which is a pretty slow car compared to the Mercedes, the Red Bull, or the Ferrari. But typically he's, at the top of the grid, or he placed fourth in the World Championship this year. And sure as hell wasn't the car, it's his experience, right? It's all the little nuances. It's the racecraft you learn over a career racing cars. It is when you're an airline pilot and you're coming into, a bad weather situation, you're leaning on experience, how to make sure that you can land that aircraft safely. If it's trial work, you're going through every trial you've ever done, 500 plus now in my career, plus all the other ones that never went to trial, and you're leaning on that experience to help you win. And they may be very small things, but let me tell you what, those small things add up. And going back to like my Formula One example, if you look at the same car, Lance Stroll, the other driver that drives with Fernando Alonso, he's usually barely in the top 10. He's driving the same car. He gets outclassed by Fernando Alonso, which is probably the best driver on the grid, almost every single week. And so that's a perfect example of why the experience absolutely matters, and why if you have a really difficult case or your career's on the line, your freedom's on the line, people say, well, why do you hire civilian counsel? Because I've been doing it for 20 plus years. I've got a track record of winning. And with each win and each loss, you take away something from that, put it in your rucksack, and become better the next time. So whether we win or whether we lose, every single case we do, we get better. And we've been doing it for 20 plus years. And so I can imagine where we're going to be 10 years from now, but that's why you retain civilian counsel. So using the example I have of the airline pilot, when you have huge crosswinds, it's foggy, it's raining, and you need to land a plane on low fuel, who do you want up there flying the plane? The person with 1,500 hours on an RATP, or the pilot who has been a captain with United for 27 years? You're almost always going to, I can't think of any scenario where you're going to choose the brand new pilot that's got an RATP. It's 1,500 hours minimum, which is what most of the free judge advocates do. And they're not bad, but they're, they don't have that level of experience. And that's often what makes the difference between success and failure. And no different than landing an aircraft or doing something else where failure can have tragic results. If you go into a criminal trial and you're the accused and you lose, you're screwed. If you're one of these scenarios where the government's accused you of something very serious and it could cost you your future, your freedom, or your career, you need someone who's been there and done that. Give me a call. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've been to trial over 500 times with a track record that I'll put up against anyone. If you want to take it to the next level, get on my calendar, let's do a call, and let's go win your case.